Hey everybody, I'm John Bollinger with Premier Guitar. We are just outside of Nashville at Shawn Tubbs' place. Shawn, thanks for having us, man.
Oh man, John, thanks for coming over.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Blessing.
So let's talk guitars for a minute.
Sure.
Obviously, you've got a lot of them.
I got a few laying around.
But you're kind of narrowing it down to a couple essentials. What do you got here? This is one I've seen you with the most.
Yeah, this one is my Suhr Classic. And I'm not even sure how long ago I got it, but I've had it for a minute. And it's already starting to kind of yellow. But I guess I've had it for 11 years maybe?
Oh,
something like that.
High mileage.
Yeah, so this is kind of a go-to guitar for me. It's got the Mike Landau's in it and SSV in the back, so it's all stock, it's bone stock. It's kind of the first one that I tend to pick up. It's just kind of home base. I tend to be a single hum guy.
Yeah.
And it's just because I can do, you know, this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then, you know.
Yeah, a lot of voices.
Yeah, I can kind of dig into it and just have some fun. But yeah, it's been a really cool guitar. Alder body. Yeah, it's just, like I said, it tends to be the first one I pick up.
Huh.
It's not because it's better than anything else. It's just, this is kind of home base for me.
Yeah,
you know?
well, it sounds fabulous, and it's interesting. Their Strat styles are just they're shaped a little differently in back, right?
Yeah. The contour is cool. It's not like extreme. You know, we can look at the Tyler. The Tyler's contoured kind of this way too. It's funny for me. It's not that big a deal, but aesthetically, it looks cool to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess if I do get in this register, I might notice that. But for the most part, I just think it's elegant. I've always when I think back in the day, at least for me, it was Tom Anderson who I saw doing that, and I was like, God, that's so elegant. Even if it, and obviously it is utilitarian to do that, but for me, I was like, man, that's just elegant. It just looks beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
And then this cut is kind of typical, but you know, once again, it's a little more elegant than a typical, like, you know, like a Strat cut would be. You know, and this one is antiqued, but you can see how all this has happened. You know, a lot of these dings came from, actually, I did them.
Yeah.
This stuff has actually darkened in. This is kind of the antiquing they did. I think they might have razor bladed this at some point.
Oh, that's right. They do the razor blade.
Yeah. Back in the day, some guys will crack them, you know, freeze them and crack them, but I'm pretty sure this got razor bladed. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm a sucker for these bent saddles as opposed to block saddles.
Oh,
that was one thing. Like James wasn't super happy with me when I wanted Tyler, when I wanted bent saddles, and because they're tingy and they're bright and but they're vintage, but they're a total pain in the butt. But for me, it's like I just like them. And this one's already starting to get a little bit that sympathetic sitaring thing, and you just have to go in and deburr it, and you know, who cares? Just fix it. You know, it's right. You know, it's kind of to each his own.
Yeah, we like what we like.
Yeah. Well, and the radius on this one, I can't even remember. It's like all these guys, like, you know, John Suhr is going to kill me. I don't even know what the radius is on this. It's pretty flat.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it might actually be compound, but I don't know. I have guitars that are flat. I have guitars like my LSL over there. That one is, you know, pretty round. Yeah. It doesn't really, I don't care.
Yeah, isn't
really.
that funny how you read about stuff like that, and I don't even know my guitars. So I mean, it's like I like this one.
Yeah, it's just, it feels comfortable, and if it works, it's like, oh yeah, I can't bend a note as much with the action as low if I've got this kind of radius, but this guitar feels killer, so I'll use it for something else.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
Well, that's very, you know what?
Thank you.
Given the comparison, let's go ahead and look at this guy.
Yeah.
I remember seeing these everywhere, and then I haven't seen it for a while. So
yeah, Tyler's are just,
this would be a fun little compare and contrast.
Yeah, now this one.
This is light, right?
Yeah, it's pretty light for alder, right?
Not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this one And in this case, James Tyler and Rich Rankin are going to kill me because I'm not even sure. I know these pickups they're JT pickups. I don't know which ones. They sound really cool.
Yeah.
This pickup in the back is darker than that pickup, and you know, like right away, how much darker that is.
Yeah, way more humbuckery.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. But if I want to do like a more modern sound, that's when it starts to like shine. You know, that more kind of modern thing, but still the neck position stuff.
God, that's great.
Yeah, so these pickups to me are kind of close to those. Those are maybe a little bit fatter. But that's the whole point. I would never really change these out. It's my Tyler. So my Tyler's going to be my Tyler because it's such a Tyler, you know.
What model is this?
This one's Elite, a Studio Elite. I think the neck shape on this is a 59. It's like, man, killer. And he hand rolls like all this stuff.
Yeah,
These edges are not scalloped. People say, oh, it's scalloped. It's like, no, it is not scalloped. It's rolled. And it just makes it feel like incredible. And the fretwork is just insane on it.
Now, what's that little mystery knob?
Yeah, the button there.
The button.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
in the button. And
That's
the knob.
that's part of the active thing. So like if I'm doing, let's go more clean. Let's do this. So if I want it to sound more active, it's basically it's a buffer, but it's also a boost, like a mid boost. So if I don't turn this up at all, because this would be the amount of boost, if I just turn them on. Yeah, so now it sounds active. It sounds like a set of EMGs almost. If I shut it off, more vintage.
Right.
Way more chimey.
Yeah.
And then if I start turning up the boost, and I don't really use it for that. What I use it for is just making the pickups active.
So 9-volt battery?
Yep. It's on the back there.
It's funny, we did this rig rundown with Waddy Wachtel, and he had that white Les Paul that he's been playing forever that he actually, I think he bought used in Nashville. He said he had it out for like a decade, and his tech said, hey, you know, that's active. And he's like, really? Well, then it's had the same battery for 10 years.
Forever, yeah.
He didn't even know.
Didn't even think about it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, wow, this guitar is just loud.
Well, and honestly, I wasn't super keen on it. But once I got it, I immediately saw the use. I was okay, I know exactly what I can use this for. And then when I don't use it, it sounds more vintage, and I can do my blues thing or whatever it is I'm into at the time.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a darker humbucker. It's a hotter humbucker. But once again, it's like, well, I could change this to something that's maybe a little brighter, but this is my Tyler.
Right.
Like, this is a sound. Why do I want to try to make this sound more like that? It just doesn't make any sense. Now it's two guitars, different color. You know.
Yeah. People do that all the time. It's like, that's my thing.
Yeah.
And they just go to, and rather than like having different flavors.
Yeah, it's guitar player syndrome, and I, I'm been playing for a long time now, so I'm kind of over it. But I was guilty of that. I would buy guitars, same exact guitar, different color, and pretend like somehow it was different. It's like, no, man. Yeah, and I may try to find the happy medium between this and maybe that SSV, but for now, it's like,
it sounds great.
Yeah, it's just an insane guitar. Jim builds the best stuff, just fit and finish, and same thing with the contours.
Right.
Really, really elegant. These are a little bit more, I guess, geometric looking, but just super elegant. And then for me, I'm a big stickler about neck joints. Just the fit and finish on neck joints is, it's everything. Yeah, it's super, super tight. But that's, once you get into guitars that are in this price range, it's like they're all great.
Yeah.
It's, if you don't like it, it's not because it's not a fabulous guitar. It's just because it's not a fit.
Right.
But yeah, this is my baby. This is a very prized,
Yeah, great.
Prized Strat.
great guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, the active thing, clean, really does just sound so sparkly.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's the thing. It's like I don't have to do anything. I don't have to turn up anything. I don't really have to change anything here. I can just hit the button and go, oh, okay, there's that sound I was looking for.
Yeah,
that
a little
active.
more, just kind of a weight.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, that's
killer.
cool.
Yep, really good, man.
Okay, 2 great Strats. Now,
Yeah.
what do you want to look at?
You know what? Let's look at that Les Paul.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Standard of the industry.
This one definitely has a story.
Oh, good. I love stories.
And I'm still trying to figure out what the story is. So, Tyler Chiarelli, Florida Georgia Line. I'm not sure if I don't know that he plays for them anymore, but apparently it used to be his. But the story behind it is it started out life as an R9, plain old R9.
Mm.
And then, I'm not sure who did it, but somebody basically stripped it, the whole finish.
Wow.
Redished the top, refinished the top, reshaped the back of the neck, refinished the back of the neck, put a stinger on it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, and you know, you can see how that's just beautifully aged. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous work, whoever did it.
Right.
I've been told this is actually a 58 tailpiece, and I think it is because it's ridiculously light. I took it off there, and I was like, yeah, this is probably an old tailpiece. I don't know if it's 58, but, and then pickups wise, I'm told that these are CS pickups, but they are kind of custom wound. They're definitely not potted. You find out real quick that they're not
really?
potted. Yeah, when you turn up
Very
some gain, it's in
harmonic
front of the amp. Yeah, but it sounds like crazy open. But yeah, it's absolutely killer guitar. The neck shape on it is just, you got to be kidding me. But like I said, it's not a typical R9 for sure. But I love how it sounds, even just for like clean voices.
Oh, yeah.
I should tune it. I was like, that sounds odd. That sounds jazzy, and that's a straight G2, and it sounds kind of
Isn't it funny how somebody will take a guitar like that and then put all that work into it? I mean, like they really had a vision, and then they get rid of it, you know?
Yeah, and then now I've got it. It's like, what? Okay.
It's like with Jeff Beck's 54 Oxblood, like somebody went to such trouble to have it refinished and put different pickups and all that jazz, and then they're like, nah, I don't like it.
Yeah, this isn't really my thing anymore.
And it became his thing.
Yeah, the main kick, you know, and I don't know, I guess we all do it. I would have to be honest as a guitar player. I certainly do that, where my ears will change, but it's usually in like 10-year intervals, and I know I'm aging myself, but that's when I honestly, it's like, okay, it's time for a change. I just need to do something else. But I'm kind of like that in life.
Oh,
anyways,
yeah.
You know,
God, yeah. 10 years, it's an eternity.
Yeah. It's a minute, you know. But yeah, it's like, I get it. It's like, this thing is absolutely, it's a stunning guitar. It's really fun to play. I'm not like a total Les Paul guy, but
you got to have one in the arsenal, and you got a great example.
And just,
oh yeah,
it's so smooth, you know. Yeah, so
that's great.
It's a sweet one for sure.
Well, it's funny how like different guitars just pull different stuff out of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. I play different when I pick up this guitar as opposed to if I were to pick up like the Duesenberg or that PRS or one of my Strats. And that's what I love about guitars is sometimes I got nothing. So I pick up like, I'll call it on the session my secret weapon. It's like, I got nothing. So I'm going to pick this thing up and it's going to force me to do something different.
Right.
And then you're off to the races. And this is certainly that. And it's really, really inspiring. I mean, I say I'm not a Les Paul guy until I play this Les Paul. And then I'm kind of a Les Paul. I end up being a bit of a Les Paul
when
guy.
you're playing it.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, let's do another little compare and contrast. What do you want to look at now?
You know what? Since we're in humbucker mode, let's check out the PRS, the
cool.
DGT. Yeah, that poor thing has been through the ringer.
Oh yeah, what a great guitar!
Such a good guitar. Yeah, this
God,
one.
this is light, man.
I know, right? It's not chambered.
Wow.
Yeah, it is not chambered, which is crazy. Yeah, this one I did a bunch of touring with Carrie. And this was the early one, like 2010. Yeah, 2010.
Sure.
So this is when there was a bit of an issue with like the nitro that they were doing.
Yeah.
So this kind of stuff was happening, but I just did not care.
Right.
I just, you know.
See, I like it. Mine is the same era,
Mm-hmm.
and the nitro was, it was doing something.
Yeah,
A bunch chipped off. I like it. Sounds even better.
Yeah, I could tell it was something they were trying to sort out.
Yeah.
You know, if it was actually chipping off there, you know, in like big chunks, it might have been an issue. But you know, but yeah, this thing sounds great. It's got a bunch of belt pack hits in it from just super quick changes, and then it's got all the rash from slamming into boats, and because we did so many just quick changes with Carrie, the guitars we didn't throw them at each other. But it was super fast changes, and the belt packs would just get, you know, slammed into the back of them. Yeah, this one, oh no, this one, it was the other, my McCarty 48 that I love that's over there too. It had a light truss lowered on it.
Oh yeah, great.
So that was fun. But yeah, this thing's been great. It seems like they've changed these over the years, like pickup wise. But
and I don't think they do them in nitro anymore.
No,
I think they've switched away from that.
It's something else. But like with this guitar, what I loved about it, this was the guitar that got me into PRSs for sure. I didn't have like a ton of interest in them, and I was backstage at, I think it was at ACM Awards at Bridgestone, and PRS was there, and the Grissom had just come out, and I'm a Grissom fan, so I was like, oh okay, well I'll check that out. So I just picked it up off the boat, and I was like, okay, I need to talk to somebody, because this is just the neck shape, everything about it was just killer. And then, you know, the pickups, I'm not sure what the deal is with them, but they just sound different, man.
Yeah,
You know,
I think he like totally voiced his own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And I love the way they split. In that neck position, nothing splits like that, right?
Yeah.
And even just for like straight up clean, you know.
Yeah. God, that's great.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a thing that sold me on it. The tremolo on it is insane. But you know, PRS, they just do great stuff.
Oh yeah, great company.
Yeah. So this is definitely, you know, one of those guitars where I'm very nostalgic about this guitar, because I did so much, you know, touring with Carrie with it. It's just been,
And totally stock, right? No
bone stock, yeah. I don't really mess with that stuff, man. I leave it alone. The only time I even think about pickups is if I don't like the pickups that are in the guitar.
Yeah.
But if the pickups in the guitar are fine, I'm not one of those guys that's like, I wonder what else is out there. Like, ooh, what's that? It's like, I honestly can't deal with that distraction. My little brain will just come to a halt if I allow for those types of distractions.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Because if you go down that road, then it might never stop.
Yeah, and I'm not playing guitar anymore. Now I'm like obsessing over, you know.
Right.
And I'm not slagging on anybody that's down for that, that loves that kind of thing. It's like, God bless you, because the tone quest is real. Yeah. But for me, I just, unless I'm unhappy with something, it stays bone stock. You know? Like, you know, the first thing I would want to do is like, can we get these in like bent saddles? But that's the thing. It's like, I don't care. It sounds great.
Yeah, right.
You know, leave her alone. You know, same with frets, everything. It's like something's got to really be off before I'm like, I think I might try different frets. It's like, no, these are big frets. Those aren't. You know, I've got guitars that have tall skinnies. It doesn't matter. Like unless it bugs me, you know, and very little bugs me. Yeah. You know, honestly. Yeah. When it comes down to, I mean, things bug me, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're all great guitars, it's like the difference is just a difference.
Yeah.
You know? It's not really. It's just not really like a better or worse.
Yeah, it just has to be different. The only thing that's bugging me right now is my hair. To be honest with you, that is bugging me.
The hair looks fabulous. Strong hair game today.
I'm just not sure. I told you guys to bring another chair for my hair.
Right.
I mean, it's okay, but you know, it was in the writer.
Good, no, Shawn. Good hair day. It's all perfect. Now let's get into this weirdo.
Yeah, I love this thing. Duesenbergs, there's just a thing about Duesenbergs. I just don't have anything on my wall that will do what Duesenbergs do, especially the Starplayer. It's like I can kind of fake it. I can get my telly to sound like P90s. I can get my humbuckers if I split them to sound kind of like a Strat. But there's something about these doozies that just, I don't know. And the way they feel, and they're super long. They're not long scale, but the string length is just crazy long, so they have a different tension.
It is long, right?
Yeah, because I mean, it makes the rest of my guitars look like ukuleles, you know, but it's not. You know, it's like they should change the name of this thing to Leviathan.
Yeah, right.
Instead of Duesenberg, let's call it Leviathan.
Yeah.
But it's, but it's that tone right there.
Yeah.
Just that clean tone.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that, you know? So, you know, I can add some top end to it, you know. And then, you know, neck position. So, I mean, what I'll reach for this guitar for is, and I did use this, not this particular one, but I had a black Starplayer that I used with Carrie on songs like Cowboy Casanova and Last Name, and it's just killer for crunch. But what I tend to lean towards is this kind of thing. Yeah, you just can't, I mean, just those two positions, you know. But if I do want to do, you know, the rock thing with it, it does, you know, does the angry, you know, rock deal. So I have no problem getting that kind of thing out of it, but it's just a great feeling guitar. The neck feels amazing on it, and it's just different.
You know, it's the few that I've played. It seems like you kind of have to work a little bit more for them. Like they don't play themselves. You have to.
Yeah, they're a little bit more like demanding. Like if you're gonna, you know, like it's gonna, especially bending notes. It's like there's a little bit more tension there. And I remember talking to Nathan about it from Duesenberg, and that was his thing too. He's like, yeah, they actually demand a little bit more from you, but when you bend into that note, there's this sympathetic thing that happens. It's between the human being and the instrument, and he's right. There's just something about like just the longer, you know, it's not a super long scale guitar. It's just there's a ton of string on here. Like when you put a string on, you know, especially up here, you've only got about this much left on the end.
Right.
Usually you've got like tons.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, there's just a ton of scale or string, so the longer the string, obviously a little bit more tension.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you think about that D string going from there to there, that is...
Yeah, yeah, and then wrapping around.
Yeah.
And then of course, this is the only, I mean, if you know, obviously if you get a Bigsby set up right and you get everything sorted out at the nut, the Bigsby, it'll stay in tune. But these tremolos, as far as like a Bigsby style tremolo, are just the best. Like I'm not scared to use this trem like I would a Biggs. But yeah, it's a remarkable guitar. I'm really, really blessed to have one. It's just interesting too. It's like, who does a spruce top? You know, laminate spruce top, and then on the back it's kind of hard to catch, but it's I'm pretty sure that's a laminate, but the flame maple back is really, and who like arches the back?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I mean, obviously, you know, it happens, but not that often on a guitar that's cut this way.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, the pickups are just so unique and stringy and cool. I mean, I've got things dialed kind of dark because when I'm playing by myself, I just like that.
Sure.
But like my rule is, especially when I was playing with Carrie, is if it's not a little too bright for you to play by yourself, it's way too dark. Because when the other 7 players show up, you're going to disappear.
Well, you know, that is so true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the smaller the band, the darker you can get.
Absolutely.
Like in a 3-piece,
oh man,
you know, neck pickup, cool.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Do
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah, but yeah, when I was playing, you know, like I said, it's 7 other cats, you know,
yeah.
And it you know, just takes up a ton of space, so everything goes the opposite direction. I remember when I would sound check, I wouldn't even play. I'd play for a second, knowing that my tone is dialed to sound great with the band, and it would sound great with the band, but by itself, you know. But if you, I mean, check guys that know, like Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
His tone is boo right on stage.
Right.
But listen to it out front.
Oh, yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
It's perfect. You know, and that's the whole thing. It's like he knows. I mean,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh is the man. And
Yeah.
yeah, guys like that, they just know. So, yeah, but when I'm just sitting by, you know, playing by myself, it's like I like to dial stuff a little bit darker. Treble's not really my friend until I need it. It's like my fair weather friend.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that funny though? It is like that. It's like the tone that is so pleasing to us alone will often not cut or not, and the tone that sounds great in a band usually is not
Oh yeah.
a comfortable tone.
No, it's
because you're fighting.
Yeah.
You're fighting to get heard.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit brighter. You got to roll all those lows out. Everything's got to go away, because if you don't do it, then the guy out front's going to shelve it out, and you're going to sound even more processed. Because that was the thing I learned is like, well, yeah, I can have it really fat in my ears, and because I'm hearing mainly me, and you know, I can make it work, but then the front of house guy is shelving and tweaking, and he's taking my source tone and trying to make it fit. And at the end of the day, I knew that my tone would sound better if I presented it ready.
Sure.
And then out front, they're way happier.
Yeah.
Because they're not messing with me.
Right.
And they're just panning me wherever they want me, and that's it, you know. So it's a thing. It's one of those things that's really difficult for guitar players, especially guys that are kind of new to playing out in ensembles. It's like, where did I go? It sounded so great. And,
I know. It's like I'm the loudest thing on stage, and you can't really.
Yeah. And when you can hear me, nobody knows what I played.
Yeah.
They heard something, but they have no idea what it was. So yeah, it's funny. It's a guitar player thing, you know.
God, I know.
Yeah. We're weird people.
Yeah. Well, speaking of weird, let's talk about some pedals. Yeah. Or do we talk about pedals or amps? You've got plenty of stuff around here.
I've got scads of amps.
Actually, why don't we go through amps first, and we'll
I can just kind of talk about what I do with them. Like this guy, definitely a little bit more modern. I wouldn't consider it just modern, but I tend to use this for channel gain. So if I want tube-driven channel gain, this is great. Especially this channel is really killer, the second channel.
And that's the generator?
That's the Rev Generator 120.
We just did a rig rundown with Smashing Pumpkins, and Jeff Schroeder, I think he's playing.
He's got two of them.
Yeah.
Jeff and I go way back, but Jeff is actually running these the way I'm running when we were talking about earlier. He's running them direct.
Okay.
Straight to house, because it's basically got a Captor X in it.
Yeah.
So he just runs two of them straight to front of house, and it sounds insane.
Oh yeah.
Really good.
Schroeder is a shredder.
Oh, he's great. That sounds great. That sounds like a meme. We gotta make a T-shirt and send it to him. Yeah, right. He's the sweetest cat. But yeah, so that's what I use this for. It does have a killer clean channel, but I tend to gravitate towards this when I don't want to use pedals at all. I just want channel gain.
Sure.
That's killer. And then of course my DS40. It's one of the few amps I literally bought sight unseen.
Well,
I just knew I would like the Dirty Shirley, and it's been fabulous. That I can use for pedal platform or gain. Love it. This guy is definitely pedal platform. That's my Bella. That's what I use the most. That's probably the first amp I turn on as a pedal platform amp, especially for demo videos. It's always that amp. Really great. Next to that, that's an older Rev. That's a 40 watt 6V6 powered amp, and it sounds killer. It's a really good amp. And I use that for slightly broken clean tones. It sits in a track really well. Same thing when I don't want to mess with pedals. And of course my Friedman BE100 Deluxe that's just a monster. Yeah. That's for if I really want, vintage but modified Marshall tones. You can't beat that thing. All three channels are fab on it. And then that's the little G20. That's basically the same as the D20 that I'm using on one side of the mix, but it has an overdrive channel that's based on the third channel of this amp.
Oh, okay.
And that thing sounds really cool. I tend to use that more as a direct input, the same way I would use not this, but the D20. And then I've got my beloved divided by 13s behind you. The LDW on top is kind of a high watt meets Marshall thing, single channel, sounds insane. And then I've had that FTR 37 for years. And it's kind of a Fender Deluxe on steroids. And you see the cabs all kind of seen some years, but that thing is absolutely fab. And then the Suhr Badger 30, that thing's killer. I love to just honk direct through that and just put a 57 on it.
Yeah.
With that cab actually, sounds really good. And then that Princeton's actually a buddy of mine's, Princeton. And I might be the only guy that doesn't like to plug pedals into a Princeton. at least in Nashville.
But you are the only guy.
I might be the only guy, but I'd love to crank a Princeton and just put a mic on it and go.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, they're fabulous amps. But yeah, that's actually a buddy of mine. He's been kind enough to leave it around. And then, yeah, these two are what I'm using right now. So
okay, yeah. So let's see what the Rev is. That the D20.
That's the D20. Yeah. So that's a little 20 watt 6v6 amp, single channel, definitely pedal platform. And then this guy is a red plate blues machine, and you can kind of choose between like blackface all the way to kind of tweed tones.
Okay.
So that's on the right side of the mix. This is on the left side of the mix. So that's what I'm using, and we're running these direct. So no mics. The Rev is running direct on its own through the 2 notes embedded stuff, and then this is going into my aux on the right side, and then you can see 4x12 cab on the aux. And then what's on that is actually a 4x12 as well.
Have you ever run the Rev into the aux and saw what the...
Oh yeah, it sounds killer that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you can run it, like when I'm on the amp switcher, everything either goes through the aux or I have a cab in a closet, 2x12 Bogner cab with a Royer 57.
Yeah.
It either hits the aux or it hits that cabinet. In this case, like with that Rev, I'll run that direct and it sounds killer if I need to do that. In this case, it worked out great because I've got my aux on one side and then the Rev on the other running direct.
Perfect.
But that thing honks great through a cabinet, sounds killer through this, but I don't know why you would really do that because the IR sounds so good in that.
Yeah, the only reason you do that is to just check how good the direct is.
Oh yeah.
And it's, you know,
they're
very convincing.
Yeah, oh yeah, it sounds amazing. Because I mean, that's the whole idea behind that was to play through at least my deal is, yes, I've used modelers. I used them on the Storyteller tour. We had to use Fractal because the stage spun and turned and you know, we had to do that.
That's modern touring.
Yeah, and it sounded fine. It just didn't feel great to me.
Right.
My thing is I would rather model on the back end. I want to play through a bunch of glass, and then if I'm going to model, it's going to be on the back end. And that's where like the aux, it was really the aux that changed my whole world when it came to modeling because I was pretty against it. Yeah. And when they sent me that, and I've had it since they sent it to me to try out and eventually demo, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. This is actually, to me, way better than and I'm not slagging on modeling. I don't want anybody coming at me about modeling. They're great.
Oh, they will.
It's great.
They're going to come at you.
It's great stuff. but for me, when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's really close. That's within about 75–80% of like my mic'd up sound.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
Well, and the thing about like the mic'd up sound, even that's a moving target. You know? Like, like sometimes like everything will be just right, and it's like, huh. Yep. Yeah, not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing I love about that too is the consistency. It's like even with my mics in that closet, it's like, did something get bumped? Yeah. And psychologically, I don't do that with that. I know that that's how I programmed it. That's how it's set.
Yeah, I can just trust it.
And I'm not worried. It's like, okay, if I want to change something, I'll change it on the amp. So I'm like, oh no, is it that mic off axis? Did it get moved? Did it shake? You know.
Right.
Who knows? Yeah.
Well, and when you've got, even when you've got like a cabinet buried somewhere, you're still hearing some of it, and that influences your ears, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's not exactly what's going to go into the recording, and like that, you know, it's so true. You know exactly what it is.
Yeah, and honestly, even when there's a cab right back there, it's just in a closet, and when I use it, the downside of it is the sympathetics off it. Oh, because it has to be blistering loud. It sounds killer, but then I got to get these monitors up over that, or I got to wear headphones. Regardless, I'm still feeling sympathetics from that, and it once again messes with me. So if I can. You know, I've taken that cab and actually moved it all the way to the last room in the house, and then it's great. Yeah. But when it's in here, it's usable, but it messes with my head because I'm feeling something sympathetically that I thought was happening in the track. Right. And then when I hear it, it's like, oh. Yeah. Yeah. Because I dialed for a sympathetic, which is not a bad thing. That's what human beings do. Yeah. But yeah. So, anyways. That's kind of thing. So yeah, on the right side is this guy, and I'm honestly not a big stereo guy. It's like I'm kind of becoming
stereo spread you're getting is fantastic. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about because you are getting this great stereo spread.
Here, I'll trade you guitars.
Yeah, what would you?
The white one.
Your old number one.
Yeah, old number one. Thanks, man.
There we go. So yeah, you are getting this great stereo spread. Is it?
Well, it's
what you're getting through your pedals running into to show me your signal chain.
Yeah, because here's the thing with stereos. I've never been a big stereo fan because when I see someone running basically two of the same exact amps, and then the only thing that makes it stereo is the fact that something's ping-ponging back and forth.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, okay, that's a stereo image, sorta. And so I always kind of stayed away from it, but honestly, what got me thinking about it was I did a show, and I used their amps, and it was two different amps behind me. And when I heard it with nothing, just the two different amps, I was like, well, that's what stereo is.
Yeah.
That's two different sounds on each side of the mix before you start ping-ponging things or having a chorus or whatever that makes it. Well, and the other thing, I'm still avid about this, is if you're going to record stereo, the problem with it is it's going to get sound mono. Unless the producer specifically wants a stereo guitar sound, they're going to have to sum you to mono, and that could create problems later.
Sure.
So in general, like when I do my record or something, I'll do it this way. But 9 times out of 10, when I do tracks for people, never, unless they ask for a specific stereo pass, because then where do you put it? You got delays banging back and forth, and it's like, yeah, but we want the guitar over there. It's like, okay, well, you got to sum the whole thing over, and then what? How does the delay sound? Probably weird. And yeah. So and once again, the stereo guys are going to come at me like, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
Well, it does. But it does make a big issue in mixing because because engineers want it like where they want. They want it almost like it's visual. You kind of see a player there and a there. And
because I've always got even when I send a rough mix of anything I've worked on, I pan things. It's like, well, the guitar sounds great there. I don't like it over here, but it's great over there. Well, what if it was a stereo pass? It's like, oh. And there's sound, and there's obviously mix engineers that are brilliant that'll make that work.
Yeah,
yeah.
What gets me are people like you see those little pictures of like Neil Young or even like Tom Petty, because they would have just like all those amps behind them. Or Eric Johnson. All those amps.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would think like phasing and whatever would get in their way, and it.
Oh, and it probably does.
Yeah, it probably does.
But I mean, they sort it out. But those kind of cats are wanting the blend, and that's what it is for me. Like these two amps sound pretty different, and by themselves they're okay, but for some reason, they sound fabulous together. And Josh Smith is another guy. He's like, I like a Fender over here, and I like a British like EL84 amp over here.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily stereo, really.
Right.
But it's the two tones combined just sound great.
Yeah.
So I'm changing a little bit on the stereo thing, but yeah, like right now, even this. This is not that stereo to me of an image. I mean, because the delay is straight up, and the reverb, it's stereo, but it's not,
So, okay, so take us through this board. What are we, like your whole signal chain, what are we doing?
Okay, so the switcher is the main thing of the gig rig, which is the new G3 that Daniel made, is just insane. So that's basically the mothership on this whole deal.
Yeah.
I had the board wired by the boys over at XTS.
Oh,
they're in Nashville. God, they're so good.
Yeah.
Everything gets routed through that. The chain actually starts with the Octaland because I don't want that thing getting hit with anything. No buffers, nothing. So it actually starts there and then goes to the tuner.
And the Octaland, hit that one, which is like a
fuzz octave. Now here's the thing with the Octaland is I don't use it for a fuzz. I use it more for light. And the reason I'm dialing it that way is because I like to have it hit an overdrive pedal like the tilt. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any octave in it? Like
no, I can do that.
But you don't.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, if I turn the octave on. Especially if you do like the more kind of.
Yeah.
It's like I love that kind of stuff. And by itself, if it's like I said, by itself.
Cool.
It's doing what it's supposed to do. But that's the thing, I can just reach down and either turn the octave on or off. But for the most part, I like it.
Yeah. It just sounds like the amp's working a little harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing with that. And you know, it was tough. I mean, we can talk about the overdrive pedals, you know, because the tilt is mine.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's take us through. So, the first thing, and so every pedal is routed through the G3.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the tilt is mine, and the problem with the tilt is because I can do so much with it.
Okay, tell me about the tilt.
Yeah, the tilt overdrive is kind of my thing that I did with Rev. It's a signature pedal. And that one is kind of based around the sound in my head. Like the type of gain I like is that. Kind of more vintagey, not super modern.
Sure.
Kind of medium gain. Now the problem with that is I can do tons with it. So when I went to put it on a board, yes, I can do tons with it, but I can't do tons with it programmably. It's not like the knobs are programmable. So I really had to decide, like, how do I want to use this with these other pedals? So that one becomes like the main pedal. It does have, and you've seen me do it, normally I'll use the boost side of this pedal with the EQ to actually add gain or kind of restructure the other side of the pedal.
Sure.
But in this case, I've changed what I'm doing because I'm using that side of the pedal as an EQ and a boost for the clean sound. So if I want to brighten things up, it sounds killer.
Yeah, that is correct.
So now I can hit it with that and make it bright.
Yeah.
It works great, but really we can go from that to the light speed. The light speed would be next. Basically, the light speed is before the tilt. Now, one thing to keep in mind, not to make this confusing, is per preset, I can totally reroute these pedals any way I want.
Oh.
But as a default, the light speed actually hits the tilt. So the light speed by itself, that's my clean.
Yeah.
The light speed is just adding a little bit, but that, once again, that's by default. The light speed can do more than that, but what I want it to do is hit the tilt. So
Yeah.
bigger, more pushed, more ampy, you know? Because I wanted some place to go with the tilt. Like, here's my start. I can do this. I can add the fuzz for soloing. Or I can add the light speed for just more. That's kind of my more thing. But then the light speed by itself. So I wanted everything to be really usable by themselves or into the, and it took forever. I mean,
Oh,
it was
sure.
like lab mode to get that figured out. So that's how that's working. So light speed into the tilt, like I said, I can change that, but that's how it's set up. And then, yeah, the other pedal is I put a rat on there, literally just to stamp myself out of it.
Yeah.
Just to have like something that is so different.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rat, high gain, and then that XTS EQ is there just to enhance the rat a little bit.
So when XTS tweaks your EQ, and that's just the G7, what do they do to it?
Yeah, they basically are moving it into all the mid voices. So I think the original one goes down to what, 100 or something. This one only goes down to 800.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it more mid-centric,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And it does sound cleaner. They're quieter.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got mine's not modern. It's really loud. Like
they can
prohibitive.
Yeah,
Loud.
they can be problematic
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, so in this case, it's very subtle. It's just adding top end.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but that's there, like I said, just to, I'm kind of out of tune, huh? That's there just to literally, it was like, man, I want higher gain, but I don't want to keep doing the more thing, because me as a human being, it's like I find something I like, which is the tilt, and it's like, okay, well, what's the more setting? But it's not like a new setting, it's just more.
Sure.
The rat pedal really forces me to just go someplace else with it.
Right. Well, and overdrive's the toughest thing. You know, you need a lot of options because again, it's kind of a moving target.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's been working out great. And then, yeah, I use the Big Sky for the typical thing. So, like right now, it's just kind of a hall thing, especially if I shut the tuner off.
Yeah.
And I can, you know, I've got it on an expression, so I can turn it up.
Or rather, Dunlop.
Yeah. It's just typical hall.
Yeah, it sounds great, though.
Oh man, yeah, the stuff's been around, seems like, for quite a while, and it just works. You know, no reason to try anything else. At least for me. I mean, once again, there's a bunch of great stuff out there.
Sure.
So don't come at me about, but I'm just saying, like, that just works really well for me. And of course, the delay, that's my typical, you know, thing that I do. You know, I can do more of a, like a stereo dual thing.
Oh yeah, that's cool. And that's the timeline?
Yep, yeah, so I've got that on an expression too, so I can turn that up. Add a spring to it.
Oh, that's great.
I can add some top end.
Oh, that's great.
And then the Eventide, I use that for kind of mod stuff. So like right now, the Eventide's doing the basically a tremolo. But I might use, I think, yeah, I can do more of the Leslie thing.
Yeah, cool.
And then I've got that on an expression. So let's speed it up.
Oh, so is it tied into the same expression as the, they can share them?
Yeah, absolutely. I can have this expression based on how the G3 works. I could have that one pedal change everything if I wanted.
Oh, so it's not running into the pedal, it's running into the G3.
Yeah, it's routed there.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the mapping happens there, which is absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
so yeah, I
that's
can
great.
send either one of those expression pedals pretty much wherever I want. So in this case, it's handling rotary speeds.
Oh, that's great. Wow,
Yeah.
and your volume is just running from the guitar into the
No,
into it, or is the volume in the G3
volume
as
is
well?
actually in the G3. It's basically like an insert, but it's a loop. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of this Laylee. Layla.
I don't know.
Yeah. I just said I'm a big fan. I don't even know how it's pronounced.
You know what? I got two of them, and I don't know how they're pronounced either. Yeah,
Big fan. Oh yeah, where are they from?
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know.
Scandinavia. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, there's no moving parts because I just murder volume pedals. I don't know why, but this one doesn't have all the stuff that's going to break. It's based on magnetics and like a voltage control amplifier.
Yeah.
It's just so smooth.
So smooth,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah, it's in an insert. You can see there's a volume insert there.
Oh.
So what's nice is that's why I have these separate from the board. Is sometimes I just want to take the board. I don't need anything with a treadle on it. I don't need it. And that way, because it's just an insert, it's normaled. If I don't have a volume pedal, I'm still passing signal.
Sure.
That's the whole deal with that. And then I do have this set up. I can do wet cab, dry cab. I can do stereo like we're doing to the inputs of the amps. I can do effects loops in stereo. Barry just like covered every base.
That's great.
He covered stuff I didn't even think about. He's
Right.
like, well, you're going to need this. And I was like, yeah, I knew I was going to need that.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know I was going to need that, but that's brilliant.
Yeah, right. So do you find, like, with those effects that you've got your stock things you go to all the time, or do you still get into them and tweak and find different things?
I really kind of don't.
Yeah, right?
There's certain things, like I think on this one, what did I do? You know, I'll mess around with things like that.
Yeah, if you find like a weirdo thing like that, you might be able to,
yeah,
you might run into the scenario where it's like, oh, that's what I need.
yeah, because what if I do this?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of stuff, but that happens on the fly where it's like I'm in a session and I need a sound.
Sure.
But for the most part, you know, this thing is really That's pretty much my world. Like,
Yeah.
just those two delays, and then I can turn on. That's pretty much where I live.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day. But as a pro player, that, you know, it's like guitar players are in a service industry. So
yeah, right.
if they say, hey, I want it to sound like a river flowing over rocks left and right, but upstream with fish, and it's like, okay, well, let me find that for you.
Right, because the customer is always right.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
that really is it.
Yeah, that's what I tell every young guitar player is like, look, man, if you're going to, especially if you're going to get into session work, but it doesn't matter, session work, touring, you're in a service industry. You need to be able to separate yourself, create distance between you and the gig you're on,
right,
and basically make sure they're happy. That's how you continue to work.
Right, and
You know?
and I think it's almost kind of like, it's sort of a great exercise in creativity to be creative within a box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they kind of like, they narrow your parameters and you still have to come up with something cool within that. That's like, that's a real exercise.
Yeah, there were times even like on a touring gig with Carrie, it's like, you don't represent you represent the artist. So I was with her for 14 years, and you really, with that many players in the band, you have to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was like, man, how far in the pocket can I get with Garrett, the drummer, and the bass player tonight? How like just sick pocketed can we make this? And that was the thing, is like, so that gave us kind of our in, but at the same time we were still really representing the artist and making sure management and everything just sounded insane out front and everybody's happy. But yeah, on a session it's like that, well, that's my sound, which is pretty straight ahead, but like I said, producers are going to ask for all kinds of stuff. They're going to want like a lo-fi, or they might want your guitar to sound like a telephone. And that's when I'd reach for that XTS or whatever. It's like, I've got all the tools I need to do whatever's asked of me.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my sound is, much more just kind of organic, for lack of a better term. You know?
Well, and that's it. I mean, the weirdo stuff really is just to pull out when somebody needs a weirdo thing.
Yeah, because even that, you know, I mean, that wasn't nearly as cool, but I listen to guys like, you know, Daniel Lanois.
Oh, God, yeah.
When he does stuff like that, it's just, or when he does that kind of gospel steel thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, but he does those types of effects with the octavers and all the just massive, and it's just like, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So, you know, I'll go for that because I heard him do it.
Right, and really, I mean, guys like him and Luke, they sort of invented it, you know. They were like doing it, they were the first like real pedal, you know, creating these huge, deep signal, you know.
Yeah, but still like really old vintage stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
well, yeah, it is now.
Yeah. I guess at the time, that's a good point. But I mean, you know, Daniel Lanois still just haunts me, and honestly, so does the Edge. I still think he's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, amazing.
But it seems like some of the, like Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois, their influence on him actually like brought him to another level too. Yeah, there's Bill Frisell. There's so many just haunting.
Right. You know, we did a rundown on Daniel Lanois, and it was so cool because he had, the gear was kind of primitive. There's all this stuff that he used on Wrecking Ball, you know, the Emmylou Harris album, and he still had the settings like from that album like written on it in tape.
Oh yeah.
You know.
So cool.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah.
And still touring with that same gear, and that album is what? It's got to be like 25 years old.
Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
And his stuff is, you know, I mean, it's buzzy and noisy and all that, and it's perfect.
Oh man, I never stopped Jimmy.
Yeah,
right. Never stopped Jimmy. Didn't stop Stevie. You know? But and then of course Buddy Miller. Is another, good God, Buddy. Wow. Yeah. Buddy Miller. Same thing. Just like,
I know, what? Man. And it's just like playing like a toy guitar into this primitive gear, and it just sounds amazing.
But it's also, he is such a musical cat. It's like there's certain guys you meet and you know they just drip music.
Yes.
And Buddy is,
he just
what a guitar player.
Finds it. You know? Yeah. Well, man, what a fun little show and tell day.
Oh, this was so fun. I'm like I said, I'm so blessed you guys came over. This was so cool. It's like, wow, I got PG over at my house.
Yeah,
crazy.
right. Well, great.
Dig it.
Well, hey, man, enjoyed it. Y'all, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe. Cheers.